The show is about to start. Thank you for your cooperation. Enjoy the show, and please come back and visit us again.
All right, everybody, and welcome back to the 9 Years podcast. After a little rest, we have returned and we are ready to go for 2019 with probably the same old nonsense that we've been doing for the past 6 months. I say 6 months, for the past, 3.5 years, in all honesty. Nick Draper here, joined, as always, by Stuart Deakins. Thank you very much for joining us. Remember, we are available on iTunes, YouTube, 9yrespodcast.org. There are many ways to listen to us, so as much as you try and avoid us, I'm afraid we make it very, very difficult for you. I would say as difficult as we make it for teams to get points against us, but that's not true, is it? Although saying that, we are back with some positivity in the new year after a good Christmas run, and basically that's what we're going to be talking about. It's all about the football today. It's all about our recent form, all about looking ahead to the January transfer window and looking, really, at the state of League One as it is, because we've not been around for four games, yeah. So there's a lot have changed, lots of teams that have picked up, lots of teams that we think might be in a bit more trouble than perhaps they thought they were going into Christmas. But Stu, let's talk about ourselves. Let's focus on ourselves first. And 7 points from 12 games. No, that's woeful. 7 points from a possible 12 over Christmas. If we go from Wickham through to Portsmouth, and I think we'd have all taken that beforehand, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I think if you look at where we started when Waddy took over back in sort of early December, we were on 14 points. So to now, even though we're still 5 points adrift, but to be on 22 points now, when you think about where we were, I think it's not a bad one. And I think if we sort of said 7 points from 9, I think we would have literally taken that and gone, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm a bit more positive. I was saying to you just before we started recording, it feels really weird, actually. Start of a new year, which is always tends to try and be as positive as you can for a new year. But actually, yeah, going into it, I feel enthusiastic. I don't know, I just feel more confident that we are heading in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. And I also think we have to think about these run of games. So Wickham, an away win, we had lost 7 consecutive on the road, so turned that around, which was good. Plymouth, a rival team. Imagine if we hadn't have picked up those 3 points against Plymouth, we'd be in big, big trouble right now. That was a huge win. Beating the teams around you in the table is always important, especially as that's something we haven't done before now, have we? I mean, well, we beat Oxford, I suppose, but that's about it. And we've also done it without a good list of players. I was looking at this. So over this course of these 4 games, we have been without, either be it for one game or some of the games or all of the games, we've been without Rod McDonald, Dead Joshua Larger, Scott Wagstaff, Mitch Pinnock was suspended, Joe Piggott's injured, James Hanson's now injured again. I mean, that's pretty much first team starters, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it sort of go through your spine in the team, isn't it, really? Like missing Deji. Most teams are going to miss Deji, but we've managed to sort of resolve that. It's really weird in a way, isn't it? What he's come in and Waddy and Glyn, what they're looking to do is look at what players we've got. If you think back to when he come in, if you said that Will Nightingale and Thomas would have been your centre-half pairing, you'd have been a little bit wary, thinking, not on Will so much, but on obviously Thomas, who, when he first come in, had some iffy games. I remember the game at Charlton in the Cup, we got injured, didn't he? But there's a few errors he made, and I know a lot of people were saying, I don't know, I think we made a bit of a boo-boo there. But actually, McDonald was playing well, got injured. Thomas has come in. So I think it's shown really that I think what he's been able to get out of the current players. So yes, whatever he's been dealt with in terms of, I suppose it's like anything. He doesn't really know what he's missing because he's not really had Pigott, Deji, hasn't had much of Scott Wagstaff, Hanson bits and pieces. But I think the reason we haven't noticed it so much is because he's managed to get things out of Kwesi, Jake Jervis, Anthony Wordsworth, Thomas. The list is endless. I think it's what he's managed to get out of the players we currently have.
And is that why fans now seem happier with the squad than before? I mean, it's not just winning games and winning points, is it? There does seem to be more. We're warming to individuals that perhaps before we weren't. And is that purely based on, well, what is it based on? Because I didn't think, we've had this conversation before, I didn't think work rate was necessarily, or effort was necessarily the problem under Neil. It was just perhaps what was being asked wasn't what we needed at that stage. Does that make sense? Yeah,
it depends when you look at work rate. I suppose for me, the tempo was never where I felt it should be. I always thought we played with a better tempo. The better tempo for us was a high tempo, putting balls into areas, turning defences, not playing passes for the sake of it. I think Waddy made a comment really early on that he didn't see the point of playing 4 or 5 passes and getting nowhere. Whereas now, we do knock some aimless long balls, and you sort of think, there's no quality. Because I think quality-wise, I think we've sacrificed the quality to look at getting balls into areas. And an example of that is the goal against Plymouth, which is a punt upfield. However, it's made their defender make a decision. Whereas before we might have tried to do some passes, and I think we're just a little bit more cuter in terms of what we're doing. I wouldn't say working any harder, but we're working better in certain areas. But I think, do you know what? I think some of the things that Wally's done is there's a change in the interviewing, so there's a bit more positivity from what's coming out, a bit more of bluntness as well. I think us not training on Christmas Day and sometimes getting Christmas Day off may not seem much, but when he said that they'll be in on Christmas Day because football of life is basically about sacrificing Christmas, small thing, but also I think he brought fans in with it. He done some obvious things, we haven't seen much of Liam Trotter. Hardly anything. I think we've seen a few benches.
I've missed him.
I know you've missed him. I know. I think he's missed you as well. But in all seriousness, he's done something that we all felt Liam Trotter wasn't really justifying his starting place, and he went straight onto the bench. And realistically, I think now a message has been told. We went a midfield without Trotter and Saws in for probably the first time in, I don't know, crikey, months it felt like. But I think he's just done, to me it's back to basics. 4-4-2, putting Will Nightingale's captain, I think was a masterstroke. So I think, do you know what, people saying he's not done much, I think he's done quite a lot in a very short space. And has he got lucky? Maybe, but wins always increase positivity, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, there's 3 things I want to touch on with what you said there. Number one is, I'm glad you brought up Trotter and Saws there, because energy, when you talk about work rate, I guess you mean energy in midfield. I mean, it's different level now, isn't it? Let's be honest. The amount of, Anthony Wordsworth, who in the past has perhaps been considered, and we've seen it ourselves this season, maybe a bit of a luxury player, but I wouldn't throw that accusation at him currently. He has been putting in a massive shift, hasn't he, getting up and down. So that's a big, big positive. The other thing you talked about in terms of changes, the goal you mentioned against Plymouth, just what you called an aimless long ball, yes, but also if you look at goals against Wickham and the goal against Portsmouth, okay, Kwesi's goal against Portsmouth was an outrageous strike. I mean, it's 1 in a million, really, isn't it? But if you watch it back, it all comes from just a long ball, but at the point the ball drops to Kwesi, we've got 3 players ahead of him. That never used to happen. We actually have players in advanced positions, and sometimes numbers, just having numbers up there is what can give you a chance, can't it? So we've got that, we've got the energy, we've got the numbers getting forward ahead of the ball and what have you say. Also, there's an element of youth as well, because we talk about team changes and getting best out players and stuff like that. It's also given an opportunity for young players to get game time, and that always is going to get fans on side, isn't it? So Tyler Bury has had game time. Paul Callan-Bailly started against Plymouth, and from reports, put in a very good shift. I mean, that's daunting, isn't it, for a young player to come in for their debut at a full, sold-out Fratton Park, where the league leaders are playing currently. Alfie Egan's come on. And I guess I reference that because, again, Trotter, you mentioned, Trotter wasn't, you say he's on the bench, he wasn't actually even in the squad for the Blackpool game. He then returned to the bench for Portsmouth, and yet Alfie Egan was chosen again ahead of him as a substitute. I mean, it tells you what you need to know, doesn't it? Yeah,
and I went to meet the manager, what he had just before Christmas, and I actually asked him a question that, in terms of the window, was he looking to get some... I said, we'd reduced the age last year, so we got rid of people like Darius and Lyle and Barry Fuller, and we replaced it with younger players. And I said to him, did that concern him, and was he going to look to get some experienced players alongside any other players he brought in? And he shot me down in flames, really, because he went the opposite way. He was like, no, he's going, I want, Wimbledon is about a team that should be proud of its academy, should have a young team, so he should have players coming through. He said, yes, you can't have a team full of kids. He goes, we should be promoting our own, we should be playing our own, we should make sure that, we have a supply line from the academy through to the first team. And I thought, great, but did I think that was going to happen in a month's time? No way. Alfie Egan coming on, Paul Cannon-Baye, Anthony Hartigan is probably the older statesman in there. What's he got now? Probably 20, 30 league appearances. I remember going watching when Anthony Hartigan was in some of the teams that Alfie was in and Paul Cannon-Baye were in. So that shows you there. Hartigan is the one pleasing thing that I've got, because the last podcast we did, I was really worried about how his development was going to be, especially the way we were playing. But we've managed to get him involved. Him and Wordsworth in midfield have managed to strike up a partnership which defies really, and it defies logic. It
does defy logic, because you would never put those two together, because
they just don't seem. One is a passing midfielder, one is one who doesn't want to defend. He was, his first intention. Every time I've watched Anthony Wordsworth, I've just been amazed at how he gets the ball passed off, and his first intention is to get into the box. It's great, but when you're in a two-man midfield, that is scary. But actually, what he has actually been able to say to him in a way, look, you can still do that, but you've got to work hard when you're not on the ball. And I think that's been the little masterstroke that he's managed to get both of them in midfield, not been overloaded many times, and actually we've got goals from them areas which we haven't previously.
I'm just thinking about it though, actually, and on reflection, I'm looking back at goals we've conceded, and is there, because you mentioned, I hadn't thought of it really before, you said neither of them are really a typical defensive holding type ball-winning midfield.
They don't tackle.
But is that not where we've struggled a little bit actually in recent times? If you look at, the goal we conceded to Plymouth, yes, it's again similar to Quezzy, it's 1 in a million, but it's a ball that's bounced into that sort of centre midfield area. Blackpool, for long spells, they were on top of us, kept the ball really well, and that was everything going through Jay Spearing, who sat in centre midfield, dictating play under no pressure. And both goals against Portsmouth seem to stem from those areas as well. Strike from range coming outside the box, and then a ball through from deep. I mean, is as good as they have been, do you think that long term we perhaps either need to separate them or maybe shift back into a three-man midfield just to give us a bit of extra security there? Or am I perhaps overthinking this?
No, it's not. You will, with them two in the midfield, you will get overloaded, but it depends really what you want to do. And we've moaned many times at home games. Give an example, Plymouth. The last time we played Plymouth before we beat, it was last season at home, was a famous game where we literally went and sat and defended at home, which was criminal. Yet this year we played Plymouth and we attacked them. Yes, it was. Sometimes the games can be a little bit like cup games, like you attack, we attack, you attack, we attack. But we're not going to survive in this league by defending, realistically. I don't see us getting 1-0 wins. I really don't. So I think really he's sort of like thrown caution to the wind and gone, well, do you know what? We might be a little bit struggling at the back, but we've got to make sure that Will and Thomas and Perrington defend properly. But actually we're going to score more goals, because the worrying thing is we only have 20 league goals. We have less goals than we have games, which I'm just looking here. I think the next team that's got less goals than us is Plymouth at 25.
Fewer goals.
No, sorry, we scored 20. Yes, English, yes. So the next one up there is 25 goals. But if you look around, Plymouth 31 goals, Oxford 31 goals, Scunthorpe 32 goals. So we're at least 10 short of that. Yes, of course the goals go in the other end, but the only way we're going to survive is by scoring goals, and we're the lowest scorers in the league. So it's quite obvious where we need to sort that out. It's the balance. The thing is, you're right. It's the balance of defending. Maybe do we get a hold in midfield? I don't know if I want to go back to 4-3-3 worries me. I love the fact he plays 4-2. I think it's helped Quezzy as well. Even helped Jay Jervis in a way. We've sort of in a way gone to, and I don't want to be critical on Nuadu, because that's not. I've seen too much of that recently. I think that's a bit out of order, if I'm being honest with you.
It's perverse.
Yeah.
It's perverse.
But what I would say to you is Neil Hardy would play a 4-3-3 and try and get players to fit into that system. Whereas what I'm seeing with Wally is these are players we've got. What formation do we have to play to get the best out of them? And I think there's no surprise in a way that you've seen performances out of Kwesi and Jake that we've actually gone. They're not outstanding. I'm not going to say all of a sudden they become outstanding players, but one of the things I made about Kwesi was he wasn't effective in the right areas. However, at the moment, we found a system that actually means Kwesi looks effective. And that surely is better than having a player that we think, come on, look, you're just here for the paycheck at the end of the week.
I mean, that is a big takeaway I've had from Wally's post-match interviews, is you mentioned about goals. It's that lack of quality that we've been saying about all season is where we're falling down. Wally doesn't come out. I don't think Wally's come out and praised our ability at any point. Everything he has said in complimenting the side has been about their application, their effort, their willingness to do the right things. But we're lacking. He referenced, of course, the technical ability in the goals we scored against Plymouth, which were technically fantastic, fantastically executed. But we still have this major problem, don't we? In that we just don't have. What was the game? Was it Blackpool? Where, see, I was fascinated by the reaction to the Blackpool game, in which I saw us put in a real good shift, and we were doing all the right things, and we were pressing, especially second half, pressing high, getting balls into areas, but their keeper didn't have anything to do. The keeper had a very easy afternoon, and that's what let us down. We look at the goals we have scored, the last three, and we're reliant on wonder strikes added with a bit of good fortune or poor defending, aren't we? So that, as much as what he has done, he can't turn these players into world beaters.
No, he can't. But the thing that I think I've been happy with is that we're better from set pieces all of a sudden. So if you think about, let's think back earlier season, I kept saying we don't create chances from set pieces. However, we scored a set piece goal against Wickham, which was if you're going to say, a typical Wimbledon goal from an old year. Front Marcus Gow, amount of times Marcus Gow used to run to the front stick, flick to the back stick, and you get a goal. That was in there. When we played Plymouth, we actually, for one point, we bombarded about 4 or 5 corners, and every corner was literally on the money, literally on the keeper, really making them work. I think he did allude to meet the manager as well, that a lot of goals come from set pieces, so we've got to be better offensively, but also better defensively. But no, he can't change them into world beaters. But what he can do is make them play in a system that is going to benefit them and hopefully get your goals, so your percentage goals, really. Your set pieces are percentages. I think the window opening now does excite me because we might now start to see the type of player that Wally wants to go for. I'm not saying it's going to all of a sudden overnight change, but it'll be interesting to see in the window what type of player he goes for. Is it a hard worker? Is it a batting midfielder? Is it a goal scorer? Hopefully all 3 of those. But it'll be interesting to see how he goes. But goal scoring, yeah, if you look at it, so if we class our 3 strikers, Piggott, Kwesi, Jake Jervis, I think there's one more, isn't there, striker-wise? Who am I missing? No, maybe it is.
Hansen. Piggott, Jervis, Apai, Hansen.
Sorry, yeah. So if you look at it, in terms of league goals, between 4 of them, they've scored 10 league goals all season. Of course, Kwesi's picked up injuries, Hansen's picked up injuries, Piggott's picked up injuries. But we're saying that basically half our league goals have come from our forwards, which suggests that 50% of our goals have come from other areas, which is great, but only if your main strikers are weighing in with, hey, look, Piggott's got 4 league goals. That's a poor return if we're going to be honest with you. Same with Kwesi. So they've got a lot of stuff, a lot of catch up to do, but we've got some big games coming up. I think we're going into a period now where I think we just did the basics right, and that's the key thing. See what comes up in the window. If we can get those players in that we need, desperately a goal scorer. How you find a goal scorer in the January window? I'm trying to think the last time we got lucky with a January transfer window.
Well, Piggott was lucky-ish.
Lucky-ish, yeah. He was a fee, wasn't he? So he was one from non-league. Do we go into non-league? That's the, for bold accounts, we believe we've gone into the Irish market with Donnelly, which looks good. To be
sure.
1 in a million, as I say, I'm joking. But yeah, you could say that different areas. We went into the window with Pinnock and Piggott. We've done well in terms of, I think I know you weren't too sure about Pinnock initially, but I'm sort of thinking you might have been I won't say you changed your mind, but I think we're starting to see a bit more now what he can do. And obviously we've got the fee has been agreed as well, so that's all done. But do we go into non-league? There's enough talent in non-league to suggest that, but we need to pick up a goal scorer, or at least someone who's going to weigh in with probably 5-6 goals easily in the next 20 odd games that remain.
I'm just thinking Pinnock, right? So my objections earlier in the season to Pinnock were end product. God, does it sound harsh? I might be being too harsh. I still think there could be more in product for him. Do you know the last couple of games? So I found a little new place on the I want to say the Tempest end, the Chemflow end, from which to watch from the last couple of games, and it's actually been right behind where they warm up with the shots at goal. You know, they get the goal out and they're all taking shots for
just in front of the disabled section. Yeah,
which isn't ideal because the disabled section has nowhere to go when those balls come firing at you. And Pinnock, when he strikes a ball, my word, does that ball stay hit? Wow! Of all the players, the power he generates is quite something. We need more from him. We need more assists from him, considering his position he's in. And it's the same for. Do you know who else that goes for Barcham as well? You know, end product.
Compare them three, and at the moment Pinnock's got 3 goes over to Barcham's 1 goal. I know what you're saying. I think the thing with Pinnock is basically getting him into areas that is going to be more effective. And I remember the last podcast we talked about. I felt that he was being moved in more central. Now he's not a target man. He's not. The Charlton game was crazy. He's not that type of player. But I think if you could play him a little bit, I don't think he's a forward as such. But I think if you got even a wide player, if you can get him in a bit closer in the area, he has got a decent shot on him. You're just trying to think. The Plymouth goal is a great goal. Pressure. Lob, it looks easy, but it isn't. If you take away, if that was in training, you go, well, you expect a professional player to be able to hit the target. Late in the game, desperate for points, against a team that's down near you, and you get that chance. I think it's an excellent finish. I'm trying to think the goal against Doncaster when he slotted it past the keeper, excellent finish. Haringey got deflected, didn't it? And there's one other goal that I think I'm missing. I'm trying to think now, top of my head. But I think he actually is a good finisher. But I think you need to get him in the areas that he's going to be effective. Crossing, I think he puts great crosses in. I think we've got a really top League One player there in time. I'm not saying now, but I think with the coaching that we can provide him, I've already seen different signs in him that he's just becoming a little bit more effective. And I wouldn't be surprised. I'll say it now. I wouldn't be surprised if he's our next player that we sell for. I don't want to say big money because he's not going to be a £1 million player. But I think he's going to be our next player that we will only end up losing because of a transfer bid. Because I think he would attract a lot of attention eventually.
What I will say in favour of him is he's not a player that goes missing, I wouldn't have said. I think when you look at our bad run, I never felt he was hiding or anything like that. He always wanted to get on the ball and make things happen. So that's a good sign. I want to end talking about these games on a positive, and I want to go back to some of those goals. So before we do that then, let's just get this Portsmouth game out of the way as that was most recent. Let's talk about the 2 goals we conceded because a lot's been said about these. Now, in truth, we've lost that game. We're bottom of the league. We are bottom of the league for a reason. So I'm not going to get angry or upset the way some people seem to have been having a dig at some of our players for the goals we conceded. They're poor goals to concede. They're goals that are conceded by a team that are bottom of the league. Let's be honest with you. We're bottom of the league for a reason. First goal, Tom King, too slow getting up, is he? Like, you do that in a training drill, wouldn't you? Warming up for the game. You'd be practicing getting down and getting back up as quickly as you can. And he seems to take an age.
See, I don't think it's him getting up. He's slow. I agree with that, but I don't think he should have. The fact is, he's parried that ball back into the 6-yard area. So my thinking is, on that, from a goalkeeper point of view, surely the most safest thing to do was to parry it for a corner or wide. But he's actually managed to parry it back into place. So if you think about it logically, it means that if you tip it wide the post, it means you get fingertips to it, or you get your top part of mainly your fingers, you get to it and parry it wide. But for him to bring it back out, it actually means he's got a fuller hand on it. So actually, I think it's a goal. It's a goalkeeper mistake, not from the fact he didn't get out quick enough, but the fact that he's put it back into an area where realistically a forward's going to be more of a favourite than a defender is. So it should have gone wide. It should have gone wide round the post, corner. Defend the corner, not give a a tap-in, really, wasn't it?
Second goal?
Yeah, see, I'm obviously we've got a little bit of a WhatsApp group, and I'm seeing that people are saying it's Thomas's fault. But there was something saying that, Watson was at fault for it. The thing is, he's got a standing jump against a run. So anyone who gets a run on you from a ball like that is always going to be favourite. Yes, you can try and make it awkward by putting your body, or at least trying to be a bit more aggressive. But we're talking about a 20-year-old kid here who looks like he'd be scared of his own shadow if he was out in Kingston on a Saturday night. He's young, isn't he? That's the problem. I think the error comes, if I'm being honest with you, I think we allow a low to come in from the wide area. We allow him to come into bodies. We don't get a tackle in. And then all of a sudden he's able to slot a player in who then puts a cross. So if I was going to look at where the error is, more likely we've allowed a player to come into bodies and not snuff out the problems. But then Lowe is a decent player. So I don't want to be ultra critical, because it's like anything, if you look at Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville on a Monday night football, we all can slaughter everybody for a goal was conceded, because there's always a mistake for a goal. That's the way it is. I think on this occasion, I think it's just a very good goal, if I'm being truthful. Lowe's a handful, great cross. Yeah, I don't think there's much we could have stopped it, but if I'm being honest with you, I think it's a cracking goal.
And I also think improved second half against Portsmouth, but I do think there's an element of opposition teams kneeing. That's not even a word.
Hey, they did it around football.
Being as good as they need to be. Do you know what I mean? I think Portsmouth maybe dropped their tempo, dropped their intensity.
But if you get back to 1-1, you do want to. Yes, I agree. You then think, okay, they're going to come at you. I wasn't at the game because I don't really like going to Pompey, if I'm being truthful. I'd imagine the fans probably got on them, not in their back, but a final push. It's a bit frustrating in a way that we conceded a goal after probably working so hard to get back into it. But the positives are we've gone to Pompey. We haven't got steamrollers. Pompey went to Fleetwood, won by 5. I know there's a sending off, but in the end it scored 5 against Fleetwood. So we haven't been absolutely caned. Quezzy's got another goal, which would do his confidence the world of good. And we've managed to blood in some players who, hey, look, Paul Canaboy's got, I don't know if I'm trying to think now, did he get a full 90 minutes? Egan's come on. Halson's got another game. It's pretty impressive. So, do you know what? I think we had a really good Christmas, and Pompey shouldn't be the one that goes, all that hard work's forgotten, because they're league leaders for a reason.
Yes. Hopefully Luton will catch them, but I don't see it happening. Then I wanted to finish off on the positive, the goals we have scored. So 5 goals in these games, and all of them very pleasing for one reason or another. Which was your favourite of the 5?
The 5 goals over the Christmas period?
No, the 5 goals we scored in May 1987.
Sorry, do you know what? I wasn't concentrating, as you can probably tell. My favourite is Pinnock's goal against Plymouth, the winner.
Interesting.
Just because I haven't celebrated like that for a long time. I took my son with me, and he was sitting with me, and I basically got told off by my wife because I was celebrating. He was literally with one arm holding him and the other arm celebrating. But I don't think I celebrated a goal like that at Kings Meadow for a long time. I just think, you know what, it was a simple goal, but in a pressure environment. I just, for me, I've not celebrated like that for a long time. Massive 3 points.
I really liked Wordsworth's against Plymouth. I thought that was a great finish to watch it drop. Technically, it was outstanding. But also, do you know what? I'm going to call it the winning goal at Wickham. Jervis's goal.
Yeah.
It's a great little finish. Great cross, good move, and great celebration. What a celebration.
Isn't it amazing what happens when you get a player into the box?
This is exactly it, isn't it? It's numbers in the box.
And you can't say you can't say Jake's worked it out on his own. Jake is a forward. And again, it's just messages, isn't it? You don't score goals if you get in a box. The movement's great. The wide ball by Garrett. Sorry, the ball down the line, first time ball in by Garrett. And people say it's an easy finish, but if you look at it, he just gets across his centre. His centre half doesn't know where he is. He makes a late move across him, and he's got a tap in there. That's not a tap in. It's a great goal. It's a great goal. But unfortunately, there's only one. Needs to get more goals if he stays after this transfer window.
Oh, you've segued so perfectly there.
Amazing.
It's like we script it. It's amazing. January then, yes, transfer window is open. By the time people are listening to this, maybe we've announced something officially, maybe not, who knows. What we do know is that Thursday is normally the day when things get announced. We also believe Tom King is gone. Millwall are recalling all their loans, which means that we are going to be in the market for a goalkeeper. And there are lots of rumours flying about.
As always.
So, look, there are two names that have been or have come to our attention. So it seems one is more likely than the other at this point, and that is Aaron Ramsdale, who you've been looking into his potential and sounds promising.
Yeah, the thing is, like anything, if you look at what he's done, goalkeepers, he went for 800 grand plus a sign on, I think, after so many appearances. But it's like anything. If you look at what he's just recently done, he's had a bit of not of a great loan at Chesterfield. So he was a loan at Chesterfield, had 19 games. Apparently didn't do too great. He's 20 years old. That's the biggest thing. But if you look at his England career, he's played at 18s, 19s, 20s, and has got one appearance of the 21s. But he's for the 19s, he was part of the 2017 European Under-19 Championship winning team. So kept 3 clean sheets in 5 matches. My worry is he's young, and when you bring goalkeepers in, you want them. It's a specialised position. So, he was at Chesterfield. So he went to Chesterfield in 2018. So that would have been, looking top of my head, having a quick look here. So he went in the January transfer window. Chesterfield, anyone going to Chesterfield had the life beaten out of them because that club is just going down. And I was actually looking the other day, not the fact that the goalkeeper we're going to get who's played for Chesterfield, but I think Chesterfield are like just hovering outside the relegation places in the conference, which is just like, I think you and I have said the story before. We went there and they were at a new ground and on the up, and their fans are really confident, and look at what they've done. It's just like, wow. So it can happen. But yeah, he's got good pedigree. Like I say, he'll be on loan from Bournemouth. He was at Sheffield United originally. Looks like everyone now has got to have some sort of Sheffield United connection. But yeah, so I think looks decent. My only worry would be, like I say, he's probably only played Premier League 2 standard football, and he's going to come into a relegation battle. That would be my only concern. But pedigree-wise, yeah, comes with a hell of a lot.
I mean, suggestion, I guess, is the same as when we got Tom King in the summer, that Joe McDonnell would not be favoured then.
Seems that way, doesn't it? And hey, look, Joe can't argue the fact that he's been given a chance. He's been given a chance to shine, and I don't think he's done much wrong. What I would say, though, I don't think he's been breathtaking either. So I think he's a steady, in my opinion, I think he's a steady number 2 in League One football. I think if you were going to play him at a level, I think he is probably a top half conference goalkeeper, if I'm being honest. But goalkeepers, again, when we were chatting, I think some people want to have a permanent goalkeeper, but I just think the way the goalkeepers are, where most Premiership clubs and even Championship clubs now, most of them have 4 goalkeepers. I think for me, it's an easy way to save money. I think if you can get a lone goalkeeper in, George Long, I believe we paid only a fraction of his salary because these clubs bring him in, but they need to get experiences, so they really have to subsidise the salary. So it's a position that I think a loan situation works out the best, because the flip side to it is, if you do get a goalkeeper who's any good, then his Premiership team is going to snap him up anyway. And we've seen that with Minion, and who was the other one that we lost?
Dream Mannion.
Did I say Minion? I did I?
You said, because you love blooming Despicable Me so much that all you can think about is Minions.
So we lost Will Mannion, and we lost one before that. I'm trying to think now. He was the...
Bursick.
That's the one. So, it's all right saying let's get a goalkeeper in and be a permanent one, but we'd probably lose them anyway. So I would rather utilise the loan market and, do it the way we do.
Of course, I forget that you were, in fact, the star of the Despicable Me films. So no wonder. That's what you can think about.
Yes. But then the other one we hear about is the one from Palace, which is not a surprise, because if Waddy is not talking to his contacts at Palace, then why not? That's so we heard also Dion Henry.
I'm going to say Henry, because apparently that's how you say it.
Oh, is it really?
No, but Thierry Henry Terry Henry, let's be fair.
Yeah.
So Dion Henry.
Yeah, I think
A bit of French flair.
we heard through one of our contacts that Palace were looking to get him out on loan, and potentially one of it could be us. But I think if you compare both the goalkeepers, yeah, the one from Bournemouth looks the one that I think you would go for.
Don't want to give anything away here, but our contact, if in case you're wondering, was one Mr. K. Fabe. And if you know, you know. Otherwise, in terms of players leaving, because everything else about players joining is speculation, Aaron Davis is Fulham centre-half we've been linked to. It seems that this Irish winger, Dylan Connolly, is with us and will be announced soon. I don't know what we can expect of... Well, we don't know how much to put into how much stake we put in the Davis rumour.
I've heard that from a few people, so...
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be a good signing if we got him, I think. Connolly's just one of those where you take a gamble, isn't it? It's inexpensive, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Chuck him in, see what he can do.
Yeah, one of the things, again, obviously meeting the manager was quite informative for Wally, but one of the things he did say that when he was at Reading, they utilised the marketing islands heavily. And I think what he was saying was that you can go and look at the same players that everyone's looking at, but realistically, we're not going to be the front runners for these big players. So sometimes you might need to go somewhere else. And one of it is interesting. One of the funny stories he said was that when he was at West Ham, what they would do they would bring players over from other countries and they would put them up and do a trial and stuff like that. And he was saying that the finance manager at West Ham apparently gave him a real hard time and going, why are you wasting 800 quid, 900 quid? And he was going, well, yeah, but on the back of 20, you might just get that one. And I think he was quite successful when he was at Reading and at West Ham of just getting those players in that actually in the end turned out to be £1 million players. Not going to put any pressure on saying that Dylan Connolly is going to be that one, but I think it just shows that I think he is prepared to bring trials in, and if he brings 10 in and gets lucky with one, then we ain't doing too bad, because it's very difficult to pick up. The days of picking up a non-league player. So going back in the day, we picked up Andy Clark, didn't we, from non-league, and Dwight Gale has been picked up subsequently and stuff like that. It's very difficult now because these non-league players, they're well known because there's such a big scouting network out there. So I think for us to go and try somewhere else, I think is a very smart move.
From what I've been reading about Connolly is that he has an attribute that we are lacking, and that is pace. So I can absolutely imagine that's what we've looked for. That's what we found. It makes all the sense in the world.
Definitely. A little Paul McGee.
What, the Matician?
Paul McGee.
No. I've got myself confused. Paul Daniels.
Yeah.
But wasn't he the guy in Neighbours?
There is a Paul Daniels in Neighbours. Yes.
Paul Daniels?
No.
It's Paul Robinson.
I think he's called. I think his real name is Paul Dan. I don't know. Anyway, I was just comparing a little Irish ringer to Paul McGee, because that's all I can remember of an Irish ringer. Oh, Mark Kennedy.
Mark Kennedy, yeah. Funnily enough, was exactly the first name that was sprung into my head was Mark Kennedy. Once scored away a fantastic goal at Bolton, I believe, in the League Cup.
Yes.
That was about it. Players that could be on their way out then. So we've already referenced Tom King.
Yeah.
That seems certainty. Liam Trotter. What's going on with Liam Trotter?
Well, I think Wally has made the biggest statement ever, hasn't he? In terms of he hasn't started. Well, I don't think he started under Wally. He's been on the bench, as you said. He wasn't in the squad for the Blackpool game. Alfie Egan, no disrespect to Alfie Egan, but Alfie Egan seems a better choice than Liam Trotter, which suggests that Alfie Egan's got more of a future than Liam Trotter has. And there's rumours going around naturally that Neil Hardy would be interested in him at Notts County. Hey, look, it's not a difficult one to understand, the rumour, because Liam Trotter wasn't dropped at all under Neil Hardy, so Neil Hardy rated him in whatever way he did. We clearly don't, so let's just... the only thing that's going to be with that is it depends how long Liam Trotter's got left in his contract, so it might be a case of what we can get out of County, because Neil Hardy's not stupid. He knows a contract, and he probably knows what the situation is, so that might take a little while of negotiations if that is happening. But we probably... I think we've got two players that are coming in, apparently, that what he's saying. I think any other players we get in will be very much what we can ship out. So Liam Trott will be one. If I'm being honest with you, I would probably try and get something for Deji. We haven't missed him. I don't think Ipswich will be interested anymore, if I'm being truthful, because I only realised yesterday that they got 15 points this year.
They're in
They've
big
won
trouble.
2 games. And hey, look, we all love Tom Elliott, but if anyone's seen the Tom Elliott winner against them, Tom Elliott must have got his Christmas present and his New Year present all in one go, because the worst defending I've seen. But I would say if we can get rid of Deji for a fee, because we're going to lose him for nothing in the summer, Liam Trotter, I don't actually know whether Jake Jervis will go back now. I've got a feeling that Waddy sees enough in him to utilise him. It might be too costly because obviously Luton are switched on and have probably tied us up in a massive contract that we can't do nothing about anyway. So yeah, that's probably where I see it happening.
Get Tyler Garrett, Ben Purington. We assume we're not hearing anything about left backs coming in, so I guess we keep the pair of them.
Yeah,
no one.
Yeah, because Liam Garrett's been used more as a wide left a wide left winger.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think he has got a purpose in the team anyway. Put a great crossover for Jervis's win at Wickham. So, yeah, I'm not in a rush to get rid of it. And the thing is, there's no point wasting money in cancelling these loan signings, etc., and getting in nothing better. I think if Waddy sees anything better out there, or he can work at what he's got, then we'll do that.
Is Deji leaving realistic? Do you think there's someone out there that's going to pay money for him at this stage?
Yeah, I do. I don't think it'll be a championship club. But then if I remember properly, wasn't Wickham interested in... Not Wickham. Wigan, sorry, were interested in him last season from my understanding. I think it's one of those, right? I get fed up with losing people for nothing in the summer. I really do. So if we can go... We haven't missed Deji. We also know he wants to move on. Realistically, is he going to sign a new contract in the summer? I think it's highly unlikely. So I personally would put him on a transfer list. I really would, and see what comes in. Because if you can get 50, 60, 70 grand for Deji, at a push, get 100 grand, but I think that'd be a bit tight, then if that's worth reinvesting in a forward, because we are top heavy with defenders realistically, especially now if we're classing Paul Cannon-Baye as a defender now. He is a defender, but what I mean, if we're classing him in as a first team defender, then you could argue we have 4 centre-offs. So do we need a one more? So that's how I would do it, just to see whether we can move our resources into another area.
The last thing I want to talk about with the current squad is Ben Purington. So, right, my niece has been at the last couple of games, and she has commented on how, and these are her exact words, Ben Purington's hair is brilliant. Apparently, he has the best hair she has ever seen. He fell to the ground injured or tackled or whatever during the Blackpool game, and her immediate concern was for the state of his hair. Now, this worries me because he just has not. We're not talking Will Nightingale here, are we? Or Jake Reeves. We're not talking these luscious locks that these guys have. This is just short back and sides, isn't it, Ben Purington? Am I missing something? Are you the right person to be asking this question of?
Hey, look, the more the concern is that she's getting to an age now where she's noticing men. That's probably that, she's at that age, isn't she? So, no.
No, she's nowhere near like 28.
Of course. But what I mean by that is Ben Purington's just a very... I said to you before, didn't I? He just doesn't have anything about him. Doesn't mean I don't think he's any good. But I think the left backs we've had before, the Cameron Kennedys and that, he just comes and does a job, doesn't he? So it's nice that she's noticing him. Does he have any better hair than anyone else? No. George Frankham and, like I say, Jake and Don Polion and Crikey and Lyle, don't compare to them.
No, I don't think so. We'll run a poll on Twitter during the week about fans' views on Ben Purington's hair. My brother suggested we start up a fanzine and call it Ben Purington's hair, but I'm not sure anyone would get it. No, just be a bit odd. What is also odd is the state of League One, which is not as good a segue as the one that you did earlier for us. But as it stands, though, so we are quite positive. Decent Christmas period, but we are still bottom of the league. We're 5 points from safety, and our goal difference is poor. It's been a great Christmas period for Bristol Rovers and Bradford. Bristol Rovers picked up 10 points. They're unbeaten. So I'm judging this on the 4 games. immediately before Christmas and then finally ending up on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Bristol Rovers 10 points from those. I mean, unbeaten, fair play. It's very rare that teams go unbeaten across all 4 games. So well done to them. Bradford, 3 wins, and their only defeat, I think, was away at Sunderland. Was that the one where they had the goal that was, the ball was over the line, but they didn't give it? So they could have even nicked a point there as well. So well done to those 2 teams. Fair, like Bristol Rovers especially, fantastic turnaround for them, because I thought they were just sinking without trace, really. Bradford, we always thought would get out of it. Oxford have suddenly plunged straight back into trouble. I think they just picked up 1 draw from those 4 games, and then they got hammered by Plymouth on New Year's Day. So, not a great time for them. Above that, though, after the Blackpool game, I was looking at it, I was thinking, the bottom 6, I had it up to the bottom 6, bit of a scrap to stay out of the relegation places come the end of the season, but actually, I think we can look a bit higher up than that. Wickham, they lost that's very rare you lose all 4 games in that time, they have done. Gillingham have lost 3 times, although somewhat unfortunately, or somewhat unfortunate away at Southend, I think, on New Year's Day. Bit of a goal that looked like it wasn't given, and then what have you.
Yeah.
Rochdale, who have lost their last 2, and they are shipping goals like no one's business. They have got the worst defence in the division. 52 goals. They are, on average, conceding 2 goals a game, which is by far and away the worst in the league. So how far up do you think we can look at teams that could replace us in the bottom 4 come the final day? I
think if you look at the league table as it is, I think you can go as high as 12th, which is Accrington. But then what I would say is Burton are 13th, and I don't see Burton being dragged into it. But I think Accrington at the moment are the one they're the ones that have started off really, really well, didn't they? And they haven't just been beat; they've been hammered in a few games. A couple of 3-0s they've been done. And I think if I look at Accrington, haven't won, so they haven't won in 6. Sorry, they've lost 6 in the last 8 games, so that's not very good at all. I think that's where, as far as you go, Wickham haven't won in 5. Walsall haven't won in 5. Sort of says
Walsall, I read somewhere, it's 1 win in the last 11.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So you've got to look. I think when you look at it simplistically and go, look, we're 5 points for safety. Yeah, I get that. We still are in a bit of a situation where we've got a lot of work to do. But the fact is, if you look at the form guide of the last 8 games, we sit 10th. So I think our form, if you look at our form guide in the last 8th, we're I think 1.4, something like 1.3 points per game, which would effectively put you a top 10 team in the league at the moment. So I think it's what we've got to do at the moment is keep putting pressure on teams. So, we've got to keep getting points, winning games. The window's massive, so at the moment Gillingham are going to lose potentially Tom Eaves to anyone else. So they potentially, I think he wasn't in. I don't know, he was in their squad against Southend. Which, by the way, if you see the last action from, you see Southend's winner, it's classic, isn't it? Absolutely classic. But it looks like Tom Eaves is going to be out. So can they replace him? Wickham have got a lot of injuries. Bale's out at the moment. Dowes Charles, interesting, hasn't played for a long time. So Neil Hardy probably got that right in the end, even though we didn't think he did. I think Bradford will spend. I think Scunthorpe will spend. I think Scunthorpe already said they're after 3 or 4 players. I think one from Oxford. I think Scunthorpe will spend. They've got a history of doing that. Oxford, I just hope they just fail all the time, to be honest with you, because their manager deserves that. Plymouth, I don't know. I thought Plymouth were decent against us, which is why in the end I thought the win was great, because I don't think they're that. Plymouth to me didn't look a team that were low on confidence. They still got some decent players, especially they've got Carey as well. Yeah,
I was looking at their team sheet and I'm thinking there's enough, more than enough there to get them out of trouble, I think, by the end of it.
Yeah, Rochdale, I thought Rochdale were pretty. When they were playing against us, I thought were probably one of the better passing teams I've seen down at our place.
Are we talking Alexa Bliss pretty or Ben Purington hair pretty?
No, it's just they just kept the ball very well. They just moved it very well, technically very good. But as you say, they did ship 5, didn't they, recently? I just think we've just got to keep plugging away. We've got to keep putting pressure on it. The only thing that worries me when I looked at it is the teams we've got left to play. So we've got, if you look at the teams we still have to travel. Where did I put my information? Yeah, cool. So we still have to go to Oxford. We have to go to Scunthorpe. We finish away at Bradford. We still have to go to Rochdale, Shrewsbury and Walsall. So all the teams really we're talking about there, we still have to go to their place. Could work a couple of ways because the home fans could get on their back and that sort of thing. We also still have a lot of teams that are in the top, so between 4th and 7th, have still got to come and visit us. So the games, when you look at what we've got left, we have got some difficult games in terms of we've done the business against the Plymouths and the Oxfords, being at home, but realistically, for us to stay up, we're probably going to have to win away at most of our teams in the bottom half that we're chasing.
Have you looked at the last 6?
For us,
it's mad. Yeah, April is a mad month. So our last 3 home games are Accrington, Bristol Rovers, and Wickham.
Oh wow!
Yeah, which is favourable.
Yeah,
as you've already said, we finish away at Bradford. We'll see where they are at the time. Oxford away, and then our penultimate away game is Luton away. Which by that stage, Luton could be full on preparing for playoffs. Yeah. In fact, that's where I expect them to be at that stage. So,
yep.
I mean, who knows what to expect from that game?
I think when you look at the fixtures, I think if we're gonna stay out of trouble, if we are gonna survive, we are gonna really have to have a bit of luck. But we're gonna have to win. Probably, it's the old 6-pointer, isn't it? But realistically, we're gonna have to go to Oxford and win. We have to go to Scunthorpe and win. Because we can't afford to lose those games, but we've got the opportunity. The best thing is we still got to play them, so we've still got the opportunity to bring them into us. But if we survive, we are. Put it this way, it won't. No one's going to give us safety. We're going to have to work very hard to get out of this trouble.
And now it's time for you to work hard, Stu, because it is time for the return in 2019 of our much loved game. And I say much loved. No one's actually commented on it. At all. Wally with a trolley.
Yay.
And this week it has an FA Cup theme. Because we are playing in the FA Cup this weekend.
I know, £144,000 game it's being called. Or I'm calling it.
You're calling it. No one else has called it that ever. I did like you messaged me in the week. Actually, this did make me laugh. I didn't say anything at the time. I've just remembered. You messaged me in the week and you said £144,000 is available to the winner. So when you say it's available, does that mean we don't have to take it if we don't want it? It's just there. Like, you can have it if you want it, but it's available, but you don't have to have it.
You say that. Can you imagine Man United going to their finance manager? Make sure the FA pay us $144,000.
Yeah, Man United they certainly will be, by the way. They will, every last penny. You don't think they
Sorry, TV Cup money, sorry.
TV money. I thought we'd finally broken this run of Man U live on TV, and then Reading at home.
So you've got the top of the Premiership or the top 6 of the Premiership against the second from bottom in the Championship. Yeah, that's a cup upset all day long, isn't it?
Oh, it's the worst river. That could be, although there could be lots of goals because Reading are really bad this year. But no, our FA Cup run. So these are FA Cup based questions. So what Wally has done this week is he's gone to a supermarket. Where's he gone this week, Stu? Which supermarket?
Do you know what? He's skinned, isn't he? Because it's Christmas. You know, he spent a bit of money, so maybe he's going to Iceland, I reckon.
Oh, good shout. Iceland.
Yeah.
That's where mums go to Iceland, of course.
Do they?
Yes.
Okay.
That's. But I don't shop at Iceland, and that's why we can't have the mum. So I've been looking at our record in the FA Cup since we returned to the Football League in 2011. And Wally has bought every single FA Cup goal scorer we have had since then.
Okay.
So basically it's £1 for every goal that has been scored by us in the FA Cup since 2011. Stu, how many, that's, by my maths, I made it 22 games. How many goals did we score? Therefore, the question really is, how much was he charged at the checkout?
Ooh. I don't know. 22 games. I'm trying to think now. FA Cup. So, one against them. I suppose is it £1 per game? I'll go around for about 16 quid.
So in 22 games, you think we scored 16 goals?
Oh, 1 second. No. Let me just change that because I just remember Curzon.
There we go. Yes.
Yeah, 1 second. Let me just change that. Let's go up to 3 the other weekend, Stu, you idiot. Okay, let me put a 26.
26. That would be possibly... Do you know what? Yes, it's a good shout, but actually it's cost him £36.
Really?
Yes, indeed. And I will explain why it's quite so high shortly. But before I do that, how much of that £36 do you think will be spent on goals scored in replays only?
Ooh, so I'm thinking... Was it the New York game an FA Cup game? Where Stratton scored? I swear that was the FA Cup game. So, replay. What replays did we have? I'm talking to myself at this time, so this is not good for podcasts, but in replays only, I don't think it's more than 10. I think 9.
Not far off, but actually... I'm saying that you're probably 2/3 of the way there. It's actually 14,
uh-huh.
And I think you might have forgotten one game that was contributing that. I'll go through all this at the end. Last question I have is: of all the players that have scored goals in the FA Cup for us since 2011, if it's £1 for every goal scored, who is the most expensive player for Wally to have put in his trolley?
Crikey. I'm trying to think. So my logic should tell me Lyle should be close to that because he was the longest. Although Bayo scored against... That's a great question. I was going to go, my logic would tell me the top goal scorer should be, so I go for Lyle Taylor.
It was good logic, yes. Lyle Taylor. Cost a £5. He would have done with his goals for us in the FA Cup. I think 3 of them might have been last season. I think he got 1 against Lincoln, the winner against Lincoln, 2 against Charlton.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
He loves Charlton, doesn't he?
He does indeed. One last question. There was 2 players that got put through the checkout that caused a bit of confusion. They cost the same amount of money, but it was just that they had the same surname but different first names. Do you know which 2 players I'm thinking of?
Same surnames?
The 2 players that have scored for us in the FA Cup with the same surname since 2011. And if you think surnames and common surnames, there's a very logical answer.
More.
Oh, it's so close. No, it's possibly the most common of all surnames. Yep.
Connor Smith.
Who were... No.
Did not? Michael Smith.
Michael Smith, yeah. And
who was the... Didn't we have a left back, didn't we, that was Smith?
Yeah, very good, yeah.
I can't think of his first name now. Mr. Smith.
Funnily enough, his parents did christen him Mr.
I can't think of his first name now. Oh.
It
I can't remember.
Was Jack Smith.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah. His famous brother is Tommy Smith. Well, we'll say famous, but he was a decent forward.
So there you go. So this £36 that we scored, Stu, we had, because you're quite right when you remembered Curzon, so there were 4 goals against Curzon. There were 4 goals against York in that replay that you referenced.
Yep.
There was 3 against Halifax this season. There was 3 against York in another replay when Matt Tubbs scored, when their goalkeeper came up for a corner and went down the other end and scored. And don't forget, Bury was a replay. Bury 5-0.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's be fair, anyone could have scored against them. That was probably the worst defence I've seen. Yeah, still is the worst defence I've seen. Didn't Frankham scored against them as well? Didn't George score against them?
Yeah, Frankham scored against them, so that tells you all you need to know. And Sutton was another game we scored in, technically. It was a replay, you see. So
yeah, who can forget that, eh?
We will never forget that. So there you go.
Cool.
Wally with a trolley done for this week. And that brings us on to another quiz. Music quiz. Let's get that out of the way now. We had 4 responses. So before Christmas, the song we played at the start of the show was All I Want for Christmas is a New Sofa by Mariah Carey. And we got 4 people responding to that, so thank you very much. They were Jerong Don at Star Dragon, LH at Womble since 86, Baylor Hahn at Baylor Hahn 1, and Stuart Rolfe at Oldo Grolf, all correctly guessing the song. Some other comments we had here. Jerong Don said it was a bit easy, that one, but Merry Christmas. Thank you, Jerong. That was, we did have a lovely Christmas, didn't we? Lovely Christmas and New Year.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And And Oldo Grove said, bit late, but in the pub after correctly predicting a 2-1 win at Wycombe. Yeah, I'm sure you did, Stuart. I'm sure you did. But and thank you for your Merry Christmases from the others as well. Ladies' team are in action. Oh, I should say, sorry, if you recognise the song at the start of this week's podcast, at 9YRS Podcast, you get your name read out on the show. Ladies' team are in FA Cup action this weekend. 1 o'clock kickoff, a 1300 PM kickoff this Sunday away at Hull City Ladies in the FA Cup third round. So if you are a dedicated traveller and want to support the ladies, that is a hell of a trip. So please let us know. And tell you what, if you are going or on the day when you go, if you have gone up there, at 9YRS Podcast on Twitter, let us know. Give us a shout out. We'll give you a shout out on the show as well. We are in FA Cup action this Saturday, Stu.
Yes.
Against Fleetwood Town, who are currently the worst. I say it was the worst draw, and then before we were recording, we picked out Bolton versus Walsall, which is equally as rubbish. But this is not a great draw. Fleetwood 11th in League One. A few facts here. So top scorer is Paddy Madden. He's got 13 goals this season. We've scored 16 in the league. Oh no, we scored 20 in the league as a team. Yep. So that tells you what you need to know. Fleetwood actually, before they lost 5-2 to Portsmouth, like you referenced, they'd actually kept 4 consecutive clean sheets at home, and their home record is pretty decent. But our record against Fleetwood is very decent. In fact, I think last season was the only season that they've beaten us. Okay, they did the double in the end, one of which was in a game of water polo, but 13 times we've met, we've won 6 of them, drawn 5 of them, just the 2 defeats. We normally do quite well up at the Highbury Stadium. What's interesting to me is the fact that Fleetwood have never got past round 3. Since we reformed as AFC Wimbledon, we haven't. We haven't actually been past round 3 since 2001, when we got to the 5th round and had that famous cup tie with Wycombe. I guess just a prediction, Stu. You've been saying for a long time, actually, you think this has got replay written all over it.
Yeah, I'm just going back to when we played York. It reminds, we were due to play Fleetwood this weekend anyway in a league fixture, but that's obviously got postponed now, back for a couple of weeks. But I'm always a believer sometimes when you've got to play teams. So when you go play them twice a month, I think it'd probably potentially be a free, 3 times in a month potentially. Could be a little bit of a trilogy, as they say.
If we play them 3 times in a month, it could be. These are your words, Stu. If we play them 3 times in a month, it could be a trilogy. Yeah. Why only could be? Well, why would it not be a trilogy if we played them 3 times?
It will be. So, I was trying to think what the word is for when you do things 3 times. That was my confusion. Do you know what? I just think we will go there, and I just think it's got a replay all over it. I really do. I think I joked earlier about it being a £144,000 game, but it's massive in a way because the prize money's been doubled. So, 144 grand. That's not including any gate receipts, which won't be high because it's Fleetwood. I just think it's a big game, and I think if we can get a replay out of it at least, look, let's go win it the first time. But I think it's going to be tough. I think you're right; they've got a good home record, but I also don't think it's a game that we can't win. I think it's a winnable tie. It's not intimidating up there by any stretch. So yeah, I think it'll be a replay. I'm really in my head, I've got replay against Fleetwood this month coming up.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I will say 1-1. I mean,
yeah.
Do you have a score?
I hope for everyone going up there it's a 2-2 thriller, but it'll probably be a 0-0.
Do you know what? When we have this inevitable replay, I wonder how many stands will be open at Kings Meadow for it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be all 4, is it? You wouldn't think.
You wouldn't think so. But the way the weather's going at the moment, it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be having 3 months' worth of really bad weather, so it'll be cold.
Yeah, I love bad weather. Hopefully some snow days as well.
Yes.
For me at work, we shall see. Updates from that game will be on Twitter at 9YRS Podcast. That is it for this week, our first show of 2019. Thank you very much for joining us. All that is left to say is thank you very much to Stu for joining me.
No problem at all.
Shout out for the AFC Wimbledon Business Club, which also returns this week. They're going to the Victoria and Albert Museum, their Gingerbread City exhibition with former Manchester United midfielder Nicky Butt. And it looks like, I'm just reading this now. So it looks like I'm going to be on Love Sport Radio this Sunday. For the Wimbledon Fan Show this Sunday evening, 8 p.m. on Love Sport. Alexa Bliss, bag first, milk last. We will speak to you again next week.